Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Arseholics podcast on Friday night. It's a really unusual time for us to be recording, but we really wanted to record an episode after the Tottenham game, which was yesterday. Well, I think we did really want to record, and it feels...
I don't want to record now.
Yeah. We were so excited to plan a recording after the North London derby. We really desperately wanted to fit something in. None of us have gone out on a Friday night because we wanted to do this recording. Well, look, we're drinking anyway, but it's weird because it's probably one of the hardest kind of post-game days for Arsenal fans around the world this season. I'd probably say going to the North London derby, losing 3-0, getting absolutely, let's be honest, getting absolutely annihilated at such a crucial time of the season. But listen, before we go into it, I've got Aaron in here. I've got Myers with me. We're going to take you through this evening. I say that you may be listening to this at any point in the day. I'm sorry. But anyway, Myers, Aaron, how's it going, guys?
Been better. Been better, but
we're here. That's about it.
Still,
do we have to do this? Can we just...
I don't
know.
Just
talk about something else instead?
Well, like something completely different, like not even football.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about Man United.
Yeah. That might be fun. I mean, we didn't prepare for it, but no. I think we've probably got about a few hours worth of content at least.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Do you know what? Right. Let's be serious. It's a good way of remembering that everything is relative.
We could be Man United.
We could
be the Man United holics.
That's the thing. So remember, anyone, all of you out there, like, listen, if you need a bit of cheering up, just remember, like, we could be Man United. And this season, that is a very bad thing. You'd rather be us than Man United. Look, we're still fourth place with a team in fourth place. Our future is in our hands still. But we need to reflect on a really poor day. And let's try and do it in the most painless way. Look, Mize and I were very lucky, regardless of the result, we were very lucky to get tickets to the game. We were at the game. It was quite a long journey for me, and I had completely forgotten how disgusting Seven Sisters. Oh my God, that area is just horrible. It's like, it's genuinely deprived. I think I messaged you guys, didn't I? I said, like, when I got there, I felt like if there was a charity box here that just contributed to to this area, I would have done it.
It's mad as well, because I don't know how far it actually is away from our ground, our ground, but it's like a couple of miles?
Yeah, like we're the posh part of North London, aren't we? Like Islington and then there and there.
No, but to be fair, even when you walk down Holloway Road, it's nice, but I can imagine when it's not a match day, it's probably not that great. Like, there's some nice restaurants and stuff, but it's probably not the nicest place.
No, not at all.
No, it's gentrified now, that part of London. But although I've heard Tottenham's quite hipster nowadays.
Not where we went.
Oh mate, no, like Seven Sisters is awful, and then when you're getting to White Hart Lane itself, that White Hart Lane station, it's called White Hart Lane. Was it Tottenham Station? I don't know, whatever it is. White Hart Lane. So that area is crap, man. It's terrible. It's got this let's be honest, like, it's a beautiful stadium, even on the outside and the inside, whatever, but the outside as well. It's like a great new structure in the middle of just complete, like, decrepit, honestly, it's falling. It's, I can't stress, if you've been there, you know what I'm talking about. Anyone listening, if you haven't, like, honestly, it's just ghetto. It's like, do you know what it reminds me of a little bit? Has anyone seen The Wire?
No.
Yeah, bits of it.
Yeah, do you know, like, when they go to, in Baltimore, like that whole storyline where they have those two streets where they legalize drug selling so they can kind of control crime, right? It's like that.
I told you, it's where they shot a few scenes from Top Boy.
Were you joking or were you being serious?
No, I was joking, but
right, I thought, yeah. Anyway, yeah, it's like terrible. And like, clearly there was a lot of atmosphere building up to the game. Got in the stadium, like, hey, all the Arsenal fans were in a pretty good place in the stadium right at the beginning, weren't they, Miles?
Yeah. It was. I mean, always bouncing away games helped. That it was an evening kickoff. Obviously, I'm guessing a lot of people, me and you, didn't get a chance to. We were working, but a lot of people would have gone to the pubs down Central, Islington, etc., and would have definitely had a few. But yeah, it was bouncing even more so, obviously, because it was North London derby. And I think the general mood amongst fans that we spoke to a few fans just that randomly spoke to a few fans in the queue for a beer and stuff, and everyone was. I don't think there was anyone that was like, "Oh, this is going to be a tough game." Oh, I'm not sure about this one. Everyone was like, "It's going to be high scoring. We're going to come out. I can't see us losing." Like that was the general feel. So just for what actually happened during the game, complete opposite, really.
Yeah, and like it's probably worth saying, right, that to a certain extent, because I know before the game there was a lot of people who I spoke to who weren't Arsenal fans who were just like, "Oh my god, you guys are going to get rolled over." Actually, most non-Arsenal fans I spoke to didn't think Arsenal were going to win at White Hart Lane. Now, like I think a lot of the optimism from our fans, I wouldn't say necessarily it came from an incredibly biased perspective, because if you look at the form table, the only two teams in better form than us were Liverpool and Man City. We won our last 4 games on the bounce. Right. So it wasn't like we were coming into this and being optimistic for no reason at all. Right. But geez, I mean, we didn't start off like a team that has won 4 games in a row, did we? I mean, Aaron
well, you say that, but the first 5 minutes, we started off really well. And this is what people forget, because within those first 5 minutes, there was a period where I don't know how it sounded in the ground, but on TV, I can't remember what happened, but we were pressing them really well, and then they went back to Lloris, and then some of the Spurs fans were booing for going back.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
I do remember that. I do remember that. Yeah, okay.
And I was like, oh, this is all right. Seems like a distant memory now, but yeah, like what happened after that, I mean, just thinking about it makes me a bit sad. But
because it was like an explosion. It was like a few things just happening very quickly.
Yeah, and I mean, should we work through it in order, because otherwise I'm just going to rant and complain and be upset. But
yeah, I mean, to a certain extent, mate. Like at the end of the day, if we can almost clump some of it together when we analyze it, right? Because we had there was the early exchanges, which we've just sort of discussed, which actually, even though I didn't think that we were that great. Well, I don't think we were that bad either, in fairness, at the beginning. And I think it was kind of toe to toe. And then that penalty instant happens.
Yeah.
From where we were sitting, it was very hard to tell, like it's hard to tell like how whether there was contact, whether there was whatever. But what was easy to tell was that the referee immediately had zero hesitation and basically signaled with his elbow and kind of gave the penalty. But you're the one who watched it at home. What was your reaction watching it at home?
I didn't think it was a penalty. I still don't think it's a penalty. Well, when I say I don't think it's a penalty, I can see why the referee gave it. I don't think the referee made a howling error. But it's the type of thing. I'll put it this way: if that was what's it called? No, if that was someone like a Tottenham defender, like Romero or whoever was playing yesterday on Eddie Nketiah, I don't think that gets given.
Yeah. Okay. Fair.
And I think you do that. That probably happens 8 or 9 times in a game or something, and it doesn't really get given. I think it was clumsy by Cedric, and I think the fact that he didn't really go for the ball in any way was a bit stupid. And why he wasn't really in the right position. He didn't challenge, and that made it look worse than it was. But I still think it was very, very soft. And put it this way: if the referee doesn't give it, I don't think VAR says that's a penalty.
So that and a general point, right? I don't know if you agree with me on this. I don't know if you saw. So I was exchanging tweets with someone before the game, and they had said, they basically alluded to the fact that they thought that, the officials were going to purposely, almost maliciously screw us over. And what I said was, I think what's genuinely plausible is that the officials will go into this game knowing that if there's a 50-50, and if they give a 50-50 decision Arsenal's way, and if Arsenal go on to win the game, then top 4 is over. So if they've made a mistake, if the referee's made a mistake in that situation, top 4 is over, and that it has big ramifications. But a 50-50 that could go in Tottenham's favour, and if Tottenham win the game, well, it doesn't have ultimate ramifications for this season. There's still a lot to play for. So I sort of thought, actually, will we just see 50-50s all generally go towards Tottenham because actually the repercussions are smaller? Do you think that there was any evidence of that during this game?
So my take on it is, being at the game, obviously I can't remember seeing replays of anything during the game really, apart from the goals. But the feeling amongst the Arsenal fans in the away end was that the referee was kind of doing us dirty. A lot of the, when the Rob Holding fouls, again, just watching it live at the game with no replays, they looked pretty it looked like he was giving everything Son's way. The penalty, like you say, Raj, we couldn't really tell, and it looks very soft. There was no obvious kind of foul when we first saw it. And that's kind of that's like the feeling that I had during the game and until I got home. And then I watched as much as I could of the first half back and the key incidents. And to be fair, I'm not sure necessarily about the 50-50s, but in terms of those main incidents, that the main talking points, the penalty, the Rob Holding fouls, which we're going to get onto in his 2 yellow cards, and especially the penalty. To be fair, I personally think that's a penalty. I know what people are saying. I know people are saying it's soft, but to be honest, I think they're the kinds of penalties that should be given more often. Hence why it's being considered a soft penalty just because no one ever gets them. But
yeah, but it's not. Yeah, exactly. Right. I'll carry on. Go on. Let me finish what you're saying.
Well, because the reason I say that it should be, I think it's a fair penalty to give, and I think he's actually made the right decision. And the reason they didn't overturn it, I know it's very unlikely they would have overturned it, but the reason they didn't overturn it when they looked at it is because the flight. If you watch the flight of the ball and you see where Son is, he's basically in line, and he's jumping, and he's going to make connection with the ball. I don't know how far out he was, not very far out at all. He's pretty much right, like a couple of yards from goal, whatever. And I think Cedric sees that. He's out of position and he tries to do that thing that all defenders do, which Gary Neville said in the commentary, right? He said, if you're jumping with an attacker and you're both and the defender looks like he's going for the ball, but he just sort of nudges ever so slightly nudges the attacker out of the way, or just makes enough contact so it's very, very slight and subtle, but it does enough just to put them off. That's not a foul. What Cedric does is he lets Son jump, probably realizes a bit too late that Son's gonna basically score, and he tries to kind of disguise. I think anyway. He's tried to disguise a foul. Not a foul, but he's tried to disguise it as much as possible. Sorry, and he just hasn't done a very good job of it. And obviously, he doesn't get off the ground, and he essentially he just knocks him over. And I think if you're Son in that situation, like if that was Nketiah in that situation, or if that was Lacazette or any Arsenal attacking player, Martinelli, I'd be screaming for them to go down. I'd be just like, you've been like, there's contact. It might be light, it might not be much, but you're basically giving Son the opportunity to just go down. And it was, I mean, look, Aaron, and the point you made about the fact that it was at their ground, of course, that's going to have an influence. And of course it was. You could see from the camera angle where you see the view of the ref, the view of Tierney, he's looking at the incident, and directly behind that is a wall of Spurs fans all jumping up and appealing for the same thing. And I'm not saying that should influence him, but of course it's going to influence him. Yeah. Of course it does, right?
No, I agree. I think what you said, Raj, I honestly don't think refs are smart enough to work through their decisions in terms of the impact. But I do think that the atmosphere got to him and got to the referee, and it does, right? It's a home advantage. They made it loud, fair play to them. But I think you need a strong ref to not let that get to you. I think it probably did get to him in that situation where, I think it's a 50-50. But like you said, Miles, it doesn't get given most of the time.
But they should. That's what I'm saying.
They should,
because
fine.
Because he's going to score. He's going to score. So
I don't think he was going to score that. I don't think he was.
But he's going to make contact with the ball.
I don't think he was going to make. I think he was almost on his way back down when Cedric made the contact. He wasn't he was on the way up and then Cedric took him out. I think
put it this way: if Cedric doesn't do anything, what's stopping him from heading that ball into, or at least on target? Maybe it doesn't go or towards the goal. Maybe
I need to see it again. But the way I saw it was that he looked like he was mistiming his jump anyway, and I don't think he was connecting, at least not cleanly, with that ball. He might get a flick on, it might get a deflection, whatever, right? But you're right. By the letter of the law, he stopped him from getting the ball, right? And
there you
Fine.
go.
Yeah. That's what I mean. I'm
Yeah.
saying I agree with you on that bit.
Yeah.
But he was on the way. He was on the way down. I think you could argue if he was going to make decent contact with the ball. And again, I don't think that's that's relevant in terms of saying if it's a foul or not. I'm just saying I don't think he would have scored. But my main point is it doesn't get given. That's not given 9 times out of 10. So he decided then, I'm going to give that foul today.
I'm not denying that. Of course, that atmosphere, that crowd would have had an effect on the decision. 100%, of course, right? But I don't, looking back at it and seeing quite a few replays, I don't think it was an unfair decision to give, because I think the contact is strong enough that it's basically deemed a foul. I think if that happens, again, it's that typical thing. If it happens anywhere else on the pitch, that is a foul. 100%. 2 players one player goes up for a header, the other player just kind of, I don't know what you'd even call it, just kind of gives them a shove in the back. Even if it's a, fairly light, it's still, and if it knocks the player off balance and they go flying to the ground, it's a foul. I think the only reason Son doesn't actually fall to the ground straight away is because then Rob Holding comes from the other side and almost stops him from falling over. And then Rob Holding kind of completely accidentally, but kind of goes into him as well. And I think otherwise, if it was just Son and Cedric in that situation, all you're going to see is Cedric just go into his back and he's just going to fall over. And it's probably makes it even more blatant, to be honest. For me, it's absolute, like, obviously I'm completely biased towards Arsenal, right? As we all 3 of us are. But I think if you take your Arsenal hat off, I don't see how you can not call that a pen. If I'm being
quite often when people call things a soft penalty, like really actually, they're not saying that it's definitely not a penalty. They're saying kind of a soft penalty is something that they're like, all right, look, technically it's a pen, but whatever. And it felt like that was the general consensus.
But do you know what it is, mate? Sorry. So I would say it would be different if it was a corner, and there's I don't know, whatever, 13, 14 players in the box, whatever, right? And they're all in the same area. The ball floats in. It's not really going to anyone specific, but it's coming into that area. And then Ben White or Gabriel kind of nudge an attacker and they go to the ground. Like, not nudge, but, slightly ease them away. That's not really, I wouldn't say that would be given as a foul most of the time, unless it's really obvious, just like shoved him completely, because he's essentially not stopping the Spurs player from scoring, if that makes sense. This situation, for me, I'm sorry, this is like, Son is a quality player. I don't think there's any doubt for me that there obviously is doubt because we'll never know, but chances are he's probably going to head the ball and chances are he's probably going to score. And the only thing that stopped him from doing that is Cedric. I don't like, there's no other reason for him. Why else would he? I don't see why else he would go down if he could still make the header.
Yeah, which is I guess what Aaron
is
saying.
I don't think. Go on.
I was just going to talk on your behalf. I was saying, I thought the only bit of debate that you're having is from your recollection, he's on his way down. Therefore, he's already had the chance to make the header, and he hasn't done that.
I don't. Okay.
Yeah, I agree. Like, but that's I think that. I don't think he's scoring, but I think that's irrelevant for when it's a penalty.
Do you think if it was down the other end, and that happens to one of our players, you wouldn't be losing your shit that we haven't got a penalty for that?
Yeah, but it doesn't matter if I would be losing my shit or not. I don't think the referee's giving it.
No. But what is it? Do you think it? Okay, so it's at the Emirates. Then do you think that should? I mean, it doesn't really matter what ground it's in. Do you not think that should be given as a penalty? If I don't know, I'm trying to think anyone. Nketiah is at the far post. I think he's about to head the ball in, and someone just basically like shoves him in the back. It's not like a shove, but it's strong enough for them to fall over. And then Nketiah just goes to the ground and he gets nothing. Do you not?
I guess you can't disaggregate the consistency from it, Miles. Like you say, you're basically saying it's something that you think should be given more often and doesn't get given like that, that often necessarily. But I guess the point is because it's not given that often.
But that's what I'm saying. But
I think referees made a call.
Should be given more often.
I'm going to give that today. And
I don't think so, mate. I don't know. I'm not denying that, of course, that atmosphere and that crowd and the fact that it was, whatever, all of that will play a part. It always does play a part, right?
But,
that's why, Man United probably get more decisions at home, or they used to, than other teams, and of course. But I don't dispute that as a penalty. To be honest, I have no issues with them giving that. For me, the fault lies with Cedric, and I think, to be honest, I'm trying to think if it was that goal. It was the Harry Kane one, the header at the back post. But I remember watching it and thinking Gabriel and Holding were quite poor, and I think it might have been the penalty. But anyway, that's separate. But I mean,
it's probably. I mean, look. Do you think? She's been debated a lot about the penalty. Do you think there's any debate about the yellow cards that Holding got before he got sent off?
No.
That was
But
easy.
at the time,
Next
yeah.
topic.
at the time, I was like, at the start, I just remember, like, I remember like he got in a scuffle and then he kind of got away with it. And the first time I thought of it, I was like Son, like it looked like Holding was kind of going after Son, and I was like, why are you doing that? Like the one player or two players on the pitch, like probably the two players in the league who are gonna exaggerate every bit of contact and turn even a half foul into like a massive, like a massive 2-footed tackle, are Son and Kane. And for some reason, Rob Holding said, I'm gonna like have a go at Son. And then he didn't calm down. And then I think it was 2 or 3. And actually the third, when he did get booked, I can't remember what it was, but I think it was probably more for accumulation of like doing it 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
And maybe all of them in their individuality, you say, probably didn't warrant a yellow, but the 3 of doing that 2 or 3 times, you did. And then when he took down Son for the second, we didn't really take him down, but he kind of clashed with him. I was just like, I actually, when I first saw it, I thought this could be like a straight red. I thought he'd elbowed him. He didn't actually, on replay, he didn't really like go for him, but it was kind of like he realized he was in a, somehow ended up in a race with Son to get the ball. And then for some reason decided to just make his presence felt when he didn't need to do that. And obviously, again, like with the Cedric thing, Son is the type of player that you give him half an inch of a foul, he will make sure it's a foul. Now, I don't think that's diving. I think that's just the way the game is now, right? Like, and in a big game like that, you want your striker to do that, right? You want your forwards to do that. And there are other players, like if it was the other way around, I don't think Rob Holding goes down and makes the most of these challenges because he's not as streetwise. But like, just don't do that against one of the most streetwise, one of the most, you can call it dark arts, you can call it whatever you want, but don't do that against Son because he's.
Quite a question for you guys though. Then I think Arteta's generally done quite a good job, particularly recently. With some of these key injuries, with playing systems, which means that these squad players that come in actually aren't necessarily exposed that badly. Like actually, they seem to do a functional job in a system that he is catering towards the lineup that he has available. But based on that, do you think, because these 2 instances where Rob Holding has kind of, fouled Son are instances where really like it's relatively high up the pitch, isn't it? And it's kind of Holding has not got pace. Holding's issue is pace really. And if he's going to go in a race with Son, there's only going to be one winner in that. So usually I think, what Arteta tends to have done well is to put players like Holding in situations where they're not going to get exposed in that way. So is he to blame in some ways of how he set us up? Or do you think it was just bad discipline from the team?
Yeah, I think the latter, to be honest. I think, I don't know how much blame you can attribute to Arteta because what other defensive options do we really have, right? Holding
more than a system, he's playing that.
I mean, I think, okay, fair enough. I mean, to be honest, I think it's just pretty good. Like it's savvy from Son, right? He knows who to target. He's drawn time and time again those like first 3 fouls up until he gets the yellow card. He's basically just drawing, holding out of position, knowing that, like you say, Raj, no, he's got 0 pace. As soon as there's a runner in behind him or Son runs in behind him, he's got no chance. And that's how he gets the second yellow pretty much, right? He knows he's done. The ball's gone over the top. Son's going after it and he just...
I don't think Son was getting there though, right?
I don't think he was getting... He's not running in the wrong direction, it looks like. But I can... Yeah. So, and I think it was more of an individual, like just a poor individual performance. And it was really weird because obviously he's not one of the younger players, right? And he's got plenty of experience. He's played in North London derbies before. He's played in big games before. He's kind of like the guy that we bring in to shore up the defense in a lot of situations and a lot of games. And he obviously didn't do that last night. And I mean, I wouldn't necessarily put it. I don't think you can put it down to the system, to be honest. I think as well with the ref. Like I know we were just talking about the ref, and not to like to dwell on it, but I think that the way he handled the Holding situation showed quite a lot of control over the game because he probably, I mean, look, they potentially could have been soft yellow cards, the first couple, if you'd given it for one of the first couple of challenges, but he kind of gave Holding a couple of chances. He could have easily kind of succumbed to again, the crowd, the pressure, the atmosphere. He didn't. He waited, gave him the third one. Obviously, would have give that's your warning. Yeah, he's given him a warning. Then he's given the yellow card. So I just think it's a bit of kind of stupidity. I'm not really sure why he was so kind of amped up. I mean, I know why he's amped up for a North London derby, but you've got like we had to have 11 men on the pitch yesterday.
Yeah.
We had to absolutely have it. Like that was just the bare minimum. And this like red card issue this season, I know like we feel like we've been hard done by it, not just this season under Arteta. And I know there's stats going around. I saw one like Burnley have committed like 900 fouls per red card, and ours is whatever it is, it's like a fraction of that.
Yeah.
And fair enough, there's obviously something, but at the same time, like I don't know, I'm not sure exactly what happened with the Rob Holding. It only really seemed to be him, to be honest. That was kind of getting himself into these situations. But I think it's just very good play from Son as well, because he probably knew who to target.
Yeah, Aaron, it'd be good to get your take on this, because one thing that was kind of during after Holding got sent off, I think it was the second half at this point, I'd looked on my phone, went on Twitter, and there was this video clip that was circulating on Twitter of Son and Holding in a little bundle, like on the pitch. And
I think that
Son
was the second foul that Holding made, or the second.
Well, no, because at this point it's 0-0, right?
Yeah.
So apparently at
the second foul before he got booked.
Okay,
the first yellow card. Yeah.
Okay, so 0-0, 10 minutes gone. Everything to play for, 11 v 11. They're on the pitch, and it really looks from that kind of replay that seemingly was going around that Son deliberately elbows Holding in the face when they're on the ground. Was that on Sky, or obviously they showed it on Sky Sports in the UK? Was that on Sky, and did they talk about it, and what did they say about it?
No, they didn't talk about it, and I'm sure you've seen on social media like the reaction to the coverage, which I thought was like, I'm generally not one to accuse commentators of bias, but I genuinely felt like it was watching Spurs fan TV last night with commentary anyway, and we can talk about why later on. But no, they didn't show it. They kind of briefly talked about it, and then I think Gary Neville very quickly dismissed it.
Why did he dismiss it? What did he say? What was the rationale?
I can't remember. He said like, oh, and then he just didn't really say anything about like if it was an elbow. And I think this is a perfect example of one, like, you need to be streetwise. If that was the other way round, I think Son's rolling halfway off the pitch like he's been shot. But Rob Holding has just kind of taken it and been like, oh, he's tried to elbow me.
Agree.
Let's get on with the game.
Absolutely agree.
And no, it's not just Rob Holding that'll do that. I can see most of our players doing that, except maybe Lacazette. If that happened to Lacazette, you'd be screaming.
He's still be rolling out.
Yeah, exactly. But and you just, it is really disappointing from Holding, not just the elbow, but just how he lacked experience for that whole bit of play. And yeah, I was very worried when I started seeing Rob Holding get drawn out to like almost the halfway line at points to deal with Son, because Rob Holding is the penalty box guy, the one you want rooted on the penalty box, dealing with the headers,
5 at the back.
5 at the back, all that stuff, right? You don't want him out chasing Son all over the pitch. So I don't know. Part of me was like, well, the way Arteta reacted after the game when he was quite defensive about it all, I wonder if Arteta had just told him and had a word with him and said, like, make yourself a nuisance. And then the fact that he'd been done by the ref fairly, in my opinion, maybe Arteta, was feeling a bit annoyed with himself for giving him that instruction, because he's not one to get drawn into this stuff usually. I know people are talking about the FA Cup final a few years ago when he I can't remember exactly what happened between him and Costa, but I remember him dealing with him quite well. But I'm just like, long story short, I think he's just cost us the game, basically.
Yeah, I want to say it's a general point I wanted to ask you. So look, I think I was really, when it became apparent in the first half that Cedric and a combination of Cedric and Holding were cost us the game, it looked like that was written in stone after we went 2-0 down. I was trying to be pretty reflective even at the time to think, do you know what? Actually, our squad players, they've really chipped in kind of over particularly the back end of this season, and we're still in a shout of 4th, and that's despite these big injuries. That's despite Tomiyasu being out for like however many months. So let's not get too carried away and be annoyed at these players. But I do have to say that, personally, on reflection, it was the experienced players that sort of let us down, particularly the backup players that did in this game. And it wasn't just, I felt it wasn't just those two. I felt El Neni, it didn't I don't think he let us down from a he did anything bad, but I think he let us down from a we needed a central midfielder with more to their game than El Neni. In this North London derby, there were so many times where we needed a forward pass and we got one that was sort of backwards, sideways, whatever, not relieving any kind of pressure, nothing like that.
Yeah.
And I think it was no problem for Tottenham at all. My question to you guys was, was this a game where you felt our experienced squad players let us down?
I think I personally, I can't look past the fact that we were 10 for 11 for what, like almost 65 minutes. And any analysis that you do when we're down to 10 and 2-0 down and basically 3-0 down for a whole half is kind of pointless. Because I think at 3-0, we were basically in conserve energy mode and prepare for the next game mode. So anything you do after that is just keep 10 men on the pitch and don't get any more injuries when we couldn't even manage that. And then I don't know. I think we needed, but generally I felt like in a big game like that, we needed experience, right? And I think we have two weaknesses, and I tweeted this. One was the fact that we have some fantastic young players who are very inexperienced in types of games like this. And then the players who are very experienced are just not very good. So yeah, we've got talent and inexperience, and we've got experience and then less talent. And I think with Holding, I don't know if it was experience or he just did something stupid. Cedric, you saw that he wasn't really good enough. El Neni, again, he's the type of player that you don't want when you've got 10 men, because he's the type of player that needs a bit of space and wants to run around and control things. And he can't do that when we've got 10v11. And Xhaka was moved to left back and couldn't really influence the game. And then you've basically got Odegaard, Martinelli, Saka, and Nketiah, and they're all very young players. And in an atmosphere like that, they struggled.
I think we're being a little bit harsh though, right? Because you've got to keep in mind that, we were raving about El Neni before the game, not before the game yesterday, but the last few weeks. And in that run we just went on, it's not like we beat 4 crap teams,
No, but I think again, when you've got 10 men.
Yeah, when you've got 10 men.
El Neni's not the type of player who's going to help you in that situation. I don't think that's unfair to expect him to. Like, I don't expect that. A very, very special player that sorts you out when you've got 10 men against 11, right? That's world-class levels. And El Neni's never going to be that guy. But to be fair, not many players in our team are that level yet.
No, but I'm more referring to the point you made about we've got young players without experience, then we've got experienced players who are crap, but then those experienced players, or not crap or whatever the word you use, but not very good. I think that's a little bit unfair, because I agree they're probably not, at the end of the day, they are squad players, right? But they do bring a level of experience, which is probably what we've needed. Like, El Neni came into the team against Chelsea, and he's been a mainstay in the team ahead of Lokonga since then because of what he brought as an example, right? So I don't know. I think the 10 men thing was obviously a massive factor, and the fact that we were a goal or 2 goals down by that point. But I personally think that start to the match, apart from the first few minutes where we were sort of competing, I guess you could say, I personally think even up until the penalty, none of them really looked up for it for me. None of them really looked up for it, considering
I don't know. You think?
Yeah, I as in, how can I put it? So, I mean, what was at stake? And I let me put it like this. I think Spurs wanted it so much more. Their players, and maybe it's just because they had to win and we didn't have to win. Maybe that was the problem. Maybe you're coming into the game. Each team is coming to the game, 2 very, very different kind of mentalities, and therefore their kind of approach to the game was just different, like naturally. When you go into a game knowing you don't necessarily have to win it, and a draw is an amazing result, maybe that got into their heads. I don't know, but I was watching Spurs, and I said to you, right, I was like, bloody hell, they are pressing, they are running, they are harrying.
Even at 11, even when they had 11.
I'm pretty sure if you watch the first 20 or so minutes back, I don't know when Holding got sent off, when the penalty happened, even up to the penalty, but basically the first part of the game, up to 10 minutes, up to Rob Holding got sent off, aside from the first few minutes, it just, yeah, I didn't see anything. I didn't see anything that really suggested that we were ever going to be in the game. And I think
disagree. I don't know. I didn't see
what
that.
What did you
saw? Go on. So you asked what I see. Like,
what did you? Yeah,
I saw it. I think we started well, and then Spurs then got back into the game because for the first 6 minutes they basically weren't there at all. But we still looked dangerous. Like Martinelli, especially, looked like he could get behind Sanchez.
I thought Martinelli. I don't know. No,
11v11. I'm saying, and then I just thought, like I read a stat before the penalty. Harry Kane had one touch. And I don't think they look like scoring. I don't think they might look a bit dangerous.
That stat tells you very little when it's Harry Kane. Because
Harry Kane I know. It's 16 minutes or whatever it was. Like it's not the most.
As in, if that was Eddie Nketiah with that stat, I'd be like, oh shit, that's not good because we need to get the ball forward. When it's Harry Kane, he only needs a few touches in the box.
No, fine. But I don't think they were dominating. And I'm like, mate, I think at 11, if it was 11v11, I think we would have given them a game. And I think
I would like to think so, but I'm basing it on what I saw when it was 11v11. I think Spurs were. I'm not saying they were necessarily better in terms of they were creating chances, opening us up. I just felt like when you watch the two sets of players, go at it, it was very clear to me Spurs just wanted it a lot more. And I think personally, I think that was down to one, the atmosphere and the crowd, them being at home and having that crowd behind them. And we haven't talked about that yet, but I think that was a massive, massive factor. And two, the fact that they knew that nothing other than a win would be enough. They had to win the game. And I'm sure Conte just, drilled that into them that there was no, don't come back to the dressing room unless you've won the game pretty much. Like that is absolutely what he sent them out to go and do.
I don't think so.
Go on.
I just think I don't want to say Spurs got lucky because we shot ourselves in the foot. I think they got a penalty that was, maybe you'd argue say at least a little bit fortunate. Then we went down to 10 men. They got a second goal. And I should also add the free kick for the second goal was definitely not a free kick. Was it the second goal? I remember Saka got fouled and basically gave it the other way. That was the worst decision out of the lot, is my opinion. And then we just collapsed, right? They probably should have made it 3-0 before halftime and killed the game off before that. But like everyone's acting like we got absolutely battered yesterday.
I'm not saying we got battered. I'm not saying we got battered.
No, but like not you, but I think people were like, oh, Spurs came out and they dominated us. But I think that even the crowd, like they were loud, but they were loud only at 1-0. And then when we had 10 men, when they knew like they had this in the back, like I genuinely don't think, I think before the penalty, it was a very, very even game. Spurs had their moments. They looked bright. We had our moments. We looked bright. And I think the rest of the game would have carried on like that. Spurs might have won. We might have won. We'll never know. But
I think the problem is you remember some of the big moments, and then like kind of some of the stuff that happens around those big moments, you kind of paint a picture that might kind of pieces a few random things together. What I mean by that is, now kind of thinking back to it all and trying to kind of, go deep into the memory bank. Like I do recall the first, say 10 minutes being pretty even, more from a perspective that both teams were trying to feel each other out. It felt like no one was really doing that much in that first 10 minutes. There was no great chances. I do remember Martinelli getting the ball kind of, towards the left, doing some kind of interesting things. But I remember it even concerning me kind of for the first 10 to 15 minutes that Spurs didn't have their main centre-back. They didn't have like their best centre-back, and that would have been a huge blow before the game. But it didn't feel like we really did anything to test that in any way in that kind of that opening spell. But fair enough, maybe you're just feeling each other out. But then I do remember a distinct almost change, and I think it was probably around that 15-minute mark, basically the 5 minutes before the penalty happened, where it did feel like suddenly we were a little bit all over the place. Spurs had that definitely kind of energy, that momentum. And then I think that whole, from that 5 minutes on, is what my brain really, remembers, right? Is just because from then on, there was only one team in it.
Yeah. And then there was a big steep downhill dive after that point, right? Where we just basically collapsed in the space of like whatever it was. I don't know how it was.
Yeah, so I do feel for Arteta a bit, because I think he probably felt like, that he would have obviously known there's going to be periods in this game where Tottenham are going to dominate. He would have known that, right? So he would probably have just gone, okay, do you know what? That's probably going to happen. We just suck it up or whatever. And so in that period, he probably thought, okay, Spurs still haven't really done that much. And then suddenly you can see the penalty and it's like, oh, for God's sake, right? From his perspective, perhaps, he thought that way, and then the sending off happens and whatever. I think the bit that I don't agree with necessarily is something that you said before, and I think we'll get onto Arteta's comments later. But I don't think that it would have been a case where he would have said to Holding, look, be a nuisance. Because I think Arteta would have known, like Son and Kane, as you guys have said, talked about, they will make a meal out of it. Home advantage, referee. I think you probably would have said to the players, don't do anything dumb. Don't do anything stupid.
Yeah, I agree. I'm just trying to rationalize Holding's behavior because I thought it was absolutely crazy what he did.
Yeah.
There was a theory, I don't know, I'd love to know what you guys think of this, what Redknapp said. And he said, because Ben White was on the bench, Holding was maybe feeling the pressure a bit more. And
I don't know about
he
that.
almost tried to
I don't know. About
he knows his role.
He
right?
knows his role.
Knows
Yeah,
role.
go on, Miles. He knows.
I think, I mean, basically that, right? He knows he's a squad player. He knows Ben White's first choice. It's not a secret or anything. So it's not like, I don't think there's anything Rob Holding could do apart from scoring like 9 goals in a North London derby that he's going to keep his place for the next game if Ben White's fit. So I don't really buy that. That's just very silly if that's actually the reason.
I would love to hear what he's like. What Rob Holding?
I think I think he's just had I don't know. He's just got caught up in the whole occasion, as it were, and like you say, you can't rationalize it. I can't explain it, but I guess it does happen sometimes, right? He's only human, and he's just I think he's just got caught up, and maybe so I don't know, maybe like when you're like in a duel against the same player several times in a short space of time on the pitch, you're just constantly like, and he obviously knows like Son is a very, very good player. He's just maybe just trying to get one over on him. Maybe he's just trying to win that tackle or kind of clean him out without getting a yellow card type of thing. But once he gets the yellow, like he's just got to be smarter. He's just got to be smarter. Like it's inexcusable.
Do you think if Ben White was fully fit, or even if we had another centre back on the pitch, whoever it was on the bench, sorry, do you think we would have taken him off after the yellow?
Holding.
After the yellow.
Well, it was actually going to be my question to you guys as to, with Ben White on the bench, and therefore, if you apply the theory that if you're on the bench, you're fit enough, then, why didn't Ben White come on earlier?
Well, I think that the most logical answer is that he wasn't fit, like fully fit. And apparently, he only just about made the bench.
But then if that's the case,
yeah,
if you're not fully fit and you're on the bench, it means that you're only going to come on an emergency situation. How was that not an emergency situation?
This is kind of what I felt. It looked like he definitely went to warm up, and he went like he even kind of went back into the dressing room. It looked like what Sky showed, and then there's a clip where Arteta basically says no, and I don't know if that's to do with Ben White not coming on, but he basically then went and sat back down. And I don't know if Arteta was like, let's just get to halftime and then, maybe give Ben White halftime to warm up or something like that. Or he was like, actually, it's just, I don't think he would have decided at 1-0 that the game was done and it's not worth bringing him on. But I certainly think when it got to 2-0 and it was halftime, he was like, there's no point bringing Ben White on now.
Fine.
I mean, just on that emergency kind of situation. I mean, that emergency situation could have been, we're 1-0 up, there's 10 minutes to go, chuck on an extra defender, Ben White can probably give you 10 minutes, as opposed to what happened, and we need an unfit Ben White for, I don't know, what was it, 60, 70 minutes with Newcastle like 3 days away, where we're expecting him to be ready for that game, and we don't want to kind of impact that him potentially being able to start that game. And I guess once you see Holding get sent off, he's not available for Newcastle.
Yeah.
Do you risk your other senior centre back who's kind of 50% fit or whatever he was, knowing that he might not make it through that game, and then you're left? Obviously, we didn't know what was going to happen with Gabriel, but then you're only left with Gabriel.
Yeah,
I think it was the right decision. I just wonder what the logic was behind that decision.
It'll be a genius. We'll reflect on it as genius if at the end of the day we end up being able to play Ben White for 90 minutes in our next 2 games and we go on and win those
Yeah,
2
or like
games.
you imagine Ben White had come on
Right.
and got injured.
Yeah, exactly.
White, yeah.
That's what I'm
and
saying.
Gabriel had got injured. We'd have been screwed.
Yeah, exactly. So look, and we're going to have to touch on that topic again when we just preview our next game, to be honest, right? But the last question I'll ask about, about the game is actually about the post-match. So lots have been talked about Arteta's interview. It was a Mourinho-esque interview. He used the Mourinho line. Yeah, he used the line of, but if I speak, I'm in big trouble. The classic, 101 Mourinho line. And took all the kind of focus on effectively the officials, said he was so proud of his team. It was a proper Mourinho interview. Was this a guy who's actually being really, really smart and tactical? Was he basically taking a leaf out of a lot of the top managers' books who seem to want to deflect attention? When their team loses, they take the attention on them, more than happy to take the flack from the pundits and then less about their team themselves? Or was it him just being pure emotional?
I think it's probably more of the former. I don't think he seriously thinks that Rob Holding shouldn't have been sent off. And I think he probably is a bit annoyed about some of the decisions. Like I said, that free kick, that penalty, maybe there are a couple of half fouls here and there that we didn't get, for example. But I think it was much more around like, look, my team are in a bit of a difficult place right now. Let me take the pressure off them. Let the pundits discuss my post-match interview. And what he said to the team was, I've gone in there and said, forget about it. Let's just think about it. Like, it's done. Move on.
Yeah.
And I hope that's what I don't think it's worth like getting upset about referees in the dressing room. I don't think it's worth. I think it's just like literally, this was a bit in this grand scheme of things. This was a bit of a free hit. Yeah. Like you've got one lifeline left. Like if you're going to lose it today. That's fine. But then now there's kind of no more room for error.
Agreed.
And that's what he's told the players. And we move on.
Before we get on to the Newcastle game and all this, what it all means and all that kind of stuff, probably something that Myers and I really reluctantly had to give Tottenham Hotspur Football Club a lot of credit for was the way they designed their stadium to create the noise that they managed to do. And Myers, I mean, you want to say something about that? Because I've got to admit, like, and I really truly feel it's got a lot to do with how the stadium was structured, but it was deafening at times, wasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, we walked in. I think the first thing you said to me, Raj, when you saw it was the stand opposite, the copy of what they call it, the yellow wall, the Dortmund. One tier, very steep stand. That was spectacular. I don't want to say spectacular.
It looks good.
Yeah, I'm trying not to use like two words that are too much, like giving them too much of a compliment. Yeah, it was pretty. It was good. It was nice, and we were thinking, I've heard that the atmosphere can be good. My brother-in-law, who I've said before in the pod, he's a West Ham fan. He went to the West Ham game, Spurs West Ham, and he was raving about it. And I was like, mate, come on, it's Spurs. Like, they can't have that good of a stadium. Obviously, we've got a relatively new stadium, so I'm kind of thinking the Emirates is still going to be better. But yeah, annoyingly, when they basically got the penalty, and from that point on, the goal celebrations, the noise for the goal celebrations was deafening is the perfect word. I couldn't actually believe how loud it was. And like you say, Raj, they've obviously designed the stadium in a way to keep the noise in. Whereas with the Emirates, and I'm obviously going to compare it to the Emirates, what you'll notice with the Emirates is, for example, the North Bank will start a chant, it will go around, and by the time it gets to the clock end, the North Bank have finished singing it. That's not the case here. So once someone somewhere starts singing a chant, it gets round the ground pretty quickly, and every single fan is on their feet and they're all singing their songs together, and it is pretty spectacular. And
do you think part of it was North London derby though?
Yeah, 100%. I'm sure when they're playing like Burnley at home on Sunday, well, maybe not Burnley at home because they're going to be well up for that because they know
a random game in the middle of the season.
Yeah, it's going to be different. Yeah. But I guess for those like special nights and those special games, Like we've said it, when the Emirates, when the Emirates is rocking, which is normally for like a big game, a big North London derby or North London derby, it's rocking. It is loud, but I think the term I basically used, I think the term I used when I said turned around to you, Raj, I said this shit's all over our stadium, and maybe that was a bit in the emotion of us being 3-0 down, but and I would, I'll probably take that back, but it was very, very impressive, and yeah, it's a bit annoying really, because obviously, like we say, it must have contributed to their players putting in a pretty, they had a pretty good game and putting a good performance, and
All right,
yeah.
is this Spursaholics now?
Yeah,
whatever it is.
yeah. So yeah, come on.
Turning into
All right,
this.
listen, 1 minute break. Let's take a bath. Come back. Listen, so, the weird thing about this all, guys, is like obviously it's a terrible day at the office, awful. Like today's been so difficult. As an Arsenal fan, like to be beaten in this way at this crucial point in the season. But I think if you ask most Arsenal fans, and I know we can say context matters, all this other stuff matters, it's true. But if you ask most of the Arsenal fans, would you have gone to having 2 games left of the season and being 4th, a point above Spurs, when you're playing 2 teams who are, I don't know, 13th and 16th or whatever they are? Would you take that? I think people, Arsenal fans, would have just cried tears of joy and said they'd take it. And to what extent do you think that we need to take a beat and just actually say, yeah, that is the case? We are still kind of masters of our own destiny. We just need to match Spurs results and we go through. Is it that simple, Mice?
It's not that simple. It's not even the context. It's just when you look at the kind of shape of the squad at the moment, and especially the defense, there's massive concerns there. We don't know who's going to be playing. And that for me, as we've discussed, and I think most Arsenal fans will say, not having Gabriel, it looks like not having Gabriel, not having Holding, not having a fit Ben White, and we're going to have to throw him in, not having Tierney. That's just, that might be kind of one step too far in terms of how do we cope with that, and are we going to be able to cope with that? And yeah, look, don't get me wrong. It's not a case of, like you say, it's still in our hands, and we can, of course, we can beat Newcastle. Of course, we can beat Everton. Like, we've no doubt about it. We're in 4th place at the moment on merit, no other reason. But I think when you add in all of the other factors, and I'm not even factoring in Newcastle being at home, and yeah, look, it is a nothing game for them in terms of their league position, but at the same time, I see no reason why they won't just be up for it, just because it's a big game. It's on TV, Monday Night Football. It's St James's Park under the lights. And St James's Park is St James's Park. It can be pretty loud, but I'm not saying it's like one of the, I'm kind of concerned, depending on how the game goes and how the game starts, if they get an early goal and then the crowd get really behind them, or if there's like a few incidents, like a few 50-50 tackles or whatever, and then their crowd gets really behind them, it might just spur them on to like potentially kind of take the game to us. But yeah, my main concern is just around like what kind of team we're going to be putting out and the kind of health of the players that we're going to be putting out. And is it just a little bit too much? Like, I've basically started to mentally prepare myself for this weekend going horribly wrong, because I think you have to as an Arsenal fan. Unfortunately, I think as confident as you want to be or could be, I think you probably have to expect. Spurs have been Spurs. They've been Spursy this season in certain games, but I think that win yesterday must have given them just the biggest boost and the biggest lift. And they're going to go into another home game, even though Burnley are fighting for their lives. I think most people expect them to win. I expect them to win. And then the pressure goes back on us, and now we've dropped into 5th. So we're 4th now, but we're playing 2nd. So by the time we get around to playing, it's going to look very, very different. And if we're 5th and we're then chasing them, and again, we have to win, I'm not sure. I do feel like, just to add as well, I do feel like, maybe I kind of said this before, but I do feel like the players caved a little bit yesterday. Maybe not caved is the right word. I feel like they felt the atmosphere and they felt the pressure a bit yesterday, and I'm worried that might be a similar kind of thing on Monday if things don't kind of go for us in the first sort of 30 minutes or so. Yeah, concerned.
Aaron, and say even if everything that Mises has said is true up to that final point, right? In the sense that Newcastle, it's their last home game of the season. They could be up for it for that reason. We're going to have a botched back four. The North London derby didn't go our way. Blah 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 blah. Arsenal have sort of shown this season that, like, at times where they kind of look like it's all kind of gone completely off the rails. All of a sudden, like, a run is put together, like away, particularly in away games or whatever. I mean, do you think it could be a case where, like, Arteta has actually just got them into a mindset where they're able to say, whatever's done is done. We're playing Newcastle away from home. We win that. We beat Everton. We're in the top four. We're better than Newcastle. Just sort yourselves out. Go for it. And do you think the players can respond in a simple way?
I don't think it'll be a simple way, but I think they'll win. I think they'll respond. And look, I think basically these next two games are going to be hell for us as fans. Like, there's no, like, it's not going to be an enjoyable week next week. And they're going to be close games. I don't think we'll comfortably win either of those games. I think we'll probably win by the odd goal, be that Newcastle, like, then, maybe like last 10 minutes sitting back defending, and it's going to be tricky with a makeshift back four. Like, it's definitely not going to be easy. And like you said, the key there is for Arteta to actually succeed with this young team, to just convince them that what's done is done, move on, and mentally prepare them for Monday night. And I think having a couple of days is probably beneficial. And yeah, and then, like, I think the other thing with Spurs is I really do hope they believe they're favourites now, because when they are favourites, Spurs are like this underdog team, and they perform when they're underdogs. But the minute they're favourites to do something, they just can't hack the pressure. So I'm hoping Spurs go into that game on Saturday thinking they've got this in the bag, and they just need to go out and smash Burnley, because when they're in that situation, that's when they often fail. But again, like Thursday, when Spurs think they're underdogs, they don't do so. And we're probably quite similar, actually, that when we are like down and out, that's when we tend to put the runs together. And we saw against, those three games against Palace, Brighton and Southampton, we were favourites. We thought we'd done it, and we crumbled. So I'm kind of hoping that actually us being up against it on Monday night might bring out the best in the players, and then it just get down to the final day, and that's anything, right? Like, we got to hope that Everton are now out of it, and hopefully they're safe and they're on the beach. But even then, like, we don't know. It's going to be close. It's going to be like very nervous. But ultimately, like you said, it's 2 wins against 2 bottom half teams to get in the Champions League. That's doable, and that's okay.
The mentality thing that you said, Aaron, is, I think that's the main thing, isn't it? It's, how does Arteta get the team to just put this result, the North London derby, that disappointment, behind you as quickly as possible? And, especially the younger players, maybe the younger players, it won't affect them as much because they're just, they're kind of more resilient just because they are younger naturally. And they just sort of think, oh, fuck it, I'm just going to, go into the next game and do what I've been doing, like Saka and Smith Rowe and stuff. But I think the mentality thing is huge, because he's got to find a way, like I say, to kind of just now not just focus on the Newcastle game, but basically just get them back up for it and make them believe in themselves again. And obviously, look, we've done that, right? We've done that this season, at the start of the season, after that run of 3 defeats in the last month, whatever it was. So we've shown that we can do it. But like I say, the main concern for me is when we said it, right? We said it all through the season, like that back four was working, and Ramsdale was working so well. We didn't have any injuries. Then I think Tomiyasu got injured, and we kind of coped. We coped, right, with Cedric, and then Tierney got injured, and we've sort of found a solution, kind of, sort of. But now, once you take Ben White and Gabriel out, that's a lot. That's a lot. And thank God Tomiyasu's back. But that's my main worry. Is it just going to be?
I agree.
I think
the
can play centre back.
Yeah.
The big issue out of yesterday was a Gabriel injury. Like, if we had lost and Gabriel was fit, I think it would have just been, right, job done, move on, get a near full, like, first team back four, and then just go. But that Gabriel injury, you're right, is a big worry. I think we'll edge over the line, but we'll get there.
I'm less because of okay. Yeah, let's say Gabriel's injured, Holding can't play, Tierney's out, whatever. If we go in with a back four of Tavares at left back, Tomiyasu, Ben White at centre back, and Cedric, yeah, it's botched, but you still got players who know how to play in those positions. I'm actually less concerned if we go out with that as a back four. I'm less concerned about that than I am purely around the general confidence of the team and the general kind of ability for them to kind of go and feel like they should be just playing with confidence and, control and all the rest of it. Like my bigger concern is, like it just as a unit going forward, will we kind of play with belief, etc.? Because listen, as much as Newcastle are at home and all the rest of it, and it's their last game of the season or whatever, I think it is really hard when you have to almost artificially create motivation versus a team that has everything to play for. I think it is quite difficult. And I think that, we will, if Arteta can just get Arsenal to play at a point where we are playing like it is a cup final, because it basically is, if he can get us playing in that way, it's very hard for Newcastle to artificially create that, regardless of whether it's their last game of the season or whatever. They've just lost 2 games on the bounce. They've been absolutely hammered by Man City. Like, there shouldn't be a reason why they should match us for belief in this game. And we surely have better players. So, it's going to tell us, this is going to tell us a lot about this team. But my other big concern actually is I agree with everything that you said, Aaron, and about the fact that Spurs have generally not done so well when they've been the favourites and they've gone into games where they're playing against like a team who are probably going to sit deep and they're going to have to break them down and, whatever. A lot of the points that Tottenham have lost at home this season have been kind of in these situations. My concern a little bit is because of the situation Burnley find themselves in, it might not actually be good for Burnley because a draw for Burnley might not be very good. Like Burnley still need to kind of look for wins if they're going to stay up because of what's happened with Everton. So I worry a little bit.
Leeds are now in there, right? So Leeds, I think
Leeds are below them. I think
Leeds are 3 points.
No,
below them, but 3 points behind. But they've got a game in hand. I think is that it?
Unless this table hasn't been refreshed, I don't think that's correct.
Or is it one? Or they're on the same amount of points?
No, that table hadn't refreshed. So so they've got the same amount of points.
Same amount of points.
But Leeds have played an extra game.
Oh, Leeds have played an extra game. Okay, that's how it works.
So it's okay. But I mean, a point, fine. Like a point is better than nothing, and it would mean that Burnley are 1 point ahead of Leeds.
I just hope, I think Burnley need to come there and play for a point, and if they sit back, sit deep, I don't think they'll get it, but
we're clutching.
Awesome.
We're clutching here.
It's going to be
we've got to assume that Spurs
miracle.
are getting 6 out of 6
Yeah.
points.
Yeah, I assume that.
So we need to do the same, and that's where my worry is.
Yeah. I mean, okay, look, guys. I mean, what's your gut feeling on this? What do we think? So if you have to call it right now, let's call initially the Newcastle game because that might lead the witness in a way. Aaron, do you think we're going to beat Newcastle?
Yeah.
Score?
Yeah. Like 1-0.
Don't care. It's just anything.
Yeah, I think it will be scrappy. We probably won't play well. They might hit the post 3 times, something like that. We'll need new underwear by the end of the game, and it will be close, but I think we'll get there.
Nice.
So my heart is telling me, a very similar type of win, but my head is just saying I honestly think we're gonna crumble and fold, and I think we might lose. So I'm gonna
lose.
I'm gonna go Newcastle win. I hope I'm wrong. Obviously, I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm completely wrong, and you guys can point the finger at me and laugh.
Last night's completely changed you.
I honestly really think I think losing a North London derby in that way, this is what I'm worried about. How quickly can they just move on from it? I don't know how quickly you can, and I think the squad at the moment is just on. You're starting to see the cracks in the squad when you don't have a squad that competes in European football. You've got a Premier League squad with sort of average players coming in, and we're having to fill. We're putting round pegs in square holes and all that kind of stuff. And I'm just, Gabriel's been a mainstay in the defense all season. You take him out, what does that, even
I agree. I think I
it's
agree with that.
massive, like unknown kind of how that's going to look and how we're going to.
If you look at the team, like who would you say is a player on form at the moment for us? Like no one. I don't think.
I'd probably say Odegaard.
I
still think Odegaard was decent against Spurs.
But mate, he missed the chances we had.
He missed a few chances. Yeah,
there were two. I think both landed on his left foot. I could be wrong on that. And he fluffed one completely, and the other one I think he fluffed both basically. And
he hit one straight at Lloris.
I was really disappointed, man. Yeah. They were sort of like better than half chances, I would say, and didn't do anything with either. So. But he is, look, in terms of his sort of general all-round play, he's on form and Nketiah's on form. There's a few players on form, and that one's like absolutely flying, I would say. So it's not even that, man. It's just, we've got to grind out a win. We've got to go away, grind out a win by any means necessary. And I'm just a little bit, I don't know. I just think that losing the North London derby the way we did and having missing two more defenders might just be too much of an ask. And Newcastle, sorry, I was just going to say as well, Newcastle, they're wherever they are, 13th in the league or whatever, 14th, but they're form-wise since Howe took over, they're like 4th or 5th or something, aren't they? Or they're pretty high up.
I mean they were, but
they lost a couple, right?
They lost to Liverpool.
And I know they got smashed the other day, but even so that who they Liverpool, right? No,
Liverpool,
City, sorry.
Liverpool then City.
Yeah. I mean, okay, fine. Everyone's getting smashed by them, so you kind of take those results out of it.
Well, what I really hope that Arteta is saying to the team, which I believe is 100% true, is that no one will give a shit about what just happened in the North London derby if we finish in the top 4.
Oh, yeah.
Like, no one will care. No one. It won't be part of any kind of narrative at all. Like, it'll be gone. It's done. No one cares. So, the more and more you can drill that into those players' heads, and the more and more you can make them realize you just got 2 games against teams that you are better than. You are genuinely better than. Like, that's it. That's what that should be what it's all about. Look, on that basis, I'm actually going to go for a win. I don't know if partly that's just because I can't bring myself to predict the loss, but I don't think like it feels like unless we genuinely crumble, like genuinely crumble, which I mean it's not outside the realm of possibility, but it's not like it's against a big rival. It's not against like a massive team that per se, which I think we sort of have tended to sort of crumble in those kind of games. I still think we've got the quality, and I think Arteta will prepare the team like as well as he possibly can. I'm going to go for a 2-1 Arsenal win.
I hope you guys are both right, and I'm horribly.
Put it this way, Burnley could turn up, beat Spurs 2-0. We could go and win on Burnley on Monday, and it's done.
I'm still concerned though about even if we win, I'm concerned about taking it to the last day if Everton have still got something to play for.
They should be okay. Leeds are looking so bad at the moment that Everton, they've got a game in hand as well on Leeds.
And they've got a game midweek, haven't they, Everton as well?
Yeah, they play at the weekend. Midweek. I don't know who they're playing, to be fair, before us, but I think they've got Palace this weekend. Yeah, and then
Palace. Then,
mate, to be honest, I don't even know if we should do we even think that far ahead.
No,
I think just get to Monday, get the win on Monday, reassess where we are. It might be I think if we get I think either way we'll probably either need to win or it'll be done, right? I think basically we're going to need 2 wins.
Wasn't there a season where we went to the last day of the season and we were all completely convinced that we were going to be wherever it was, and then Tottenham completely
against Newcastle, where we played at Everton?
Was that the season? Was that when Leicester won the league?
Yeah,
where Spurs and that
came
was about
third
second or third, right? Yeah,
third in a 2-horse race.
Okay. Yeah. So all right, fine. I remember that.
I think Arteta scored that game, didn't he?
Yeah, I don't know.
That was Arteta's last goal that game. I think we played Villa, maybe.
I think his last goal was against Villa.
Yeah.
That's okay. All right, guys. Look, well done for powering through this episode.
It was not good. I'm really scared now. Yeah. Next week is going to be so difficult, but
yeah. Well, listen, we everyone, the earliest you could have listened to this episode is Saturday, and we're playing on Monday. We'll be recording on the whistle on Monday. We plan to anyway. None of us are going to the game away in Newcastle on the Monday night. We're not going away, so we will be immediately recording on the whistle. if we don't win, that's going to be a really tough recording. But if we win, it'll be pretty fun, I guess. Like, not completely like, there's still obviously going to be a lot to play for. Well, we'll see. Anyway, look, I'm sure most Arsenal fans are going to also be keeping a very close eye on what happens on Sunday with Arsenal, or with Tottenham and Burnley. So we'll have a lot to talk about either way. So guys, look, thanks for joining, and everyone, thanks for listening. Please like, share, subscribe, all those good things. I know that's probably really low down on the agenda right now of your list of things to do and things to think about given the Arsenal situation, but if you can, we appreciate it. So thanks everyone, and talk to you soon. Cheers
guys.
All right.